Loyalty and Wisdom, the Zen story of Jiro and the castle conspiracy. In the distant mountains of Hoshin, where the wind whispers secrets to the trees and the rivers reflect the eternity of the sky, there lived a monk named Jiro. His life unfolded in the ancient temple of Siren, a sanctuary of peace and wisdom that had withstood the ravages of time. Jiro had been brought to the temple as a child. An elderly master, the revered monk Hoshin, had found him by the side of a path covered in fallen leaves. Without a known past or lineage, Jiro grew up within the stone walls, learning to listen to the murmur of the water, the creaking of the bamboo, and the silent heartbeat of the mountain. More than the words of men, it was nature that taught him about life and impermanence. As the years passed, his devotion and discipline made him one of the most respected disciples. But the true test of his path came when an emissary from the feudal lord of the region arrived at the temple with an unexpected request. The daimyo, sick and weakened, wished for Jiro to descend from the mountain and become his spiritual advisor. The monk found himself at a crossroads. Should he remain loyal to the temple, the refuge that had given him everything, or should he answer the call of destiny, which led him to a world of conflicts and uncertain loyalties? Hoshin watched him in silence for several days until one morning, as the dawn painted the horizon with gold. He said, "Jiro, the bamboo is strong because it knows how to bend with the wind. Loyalty is not a chain, but a river. It flows where it must flow." With these words in his heart, Jiro began his journey to the daimyo's castle, where he would discover that loyalty is not always a straight line, but a hidden path between the shadows of ego, fear, and the ultimate truth of detachment. Thus began the echo of his destiny, where each step would lead him to unravel the deep meaning of loyalty, beyond promises and bonds, until he reached the very core of emptiness and the essence of being. The journey to the castle was long and arduous. As he descended along the winding roads, Jiro crossed paths with peasants, merchants, and warriors who spoke with respect and fear of the daimyo. Some said his illness was a divine punishment, while others believed his spirit was troubled by old regrets. Jiro listened in silence, understanding that his role went beyond offering advice. He had to discover the truth hidden behind the shadows of power. Upon reaching the castle, he was received with great ceremony. The hallways echoed with the whispers of courtiers and samurai, and all eyes were on him, the monk from the mountain, the man who might bring answers. Before him, in a room lit by paper lanterns, the daimyo awaited him, his eyes tired yet filled with an unsettling intensity. "Monk of Siren," he said in a weak but firm voice, "I have seen too many winters, and my dreams are filled with shadows. Can you bring me peace?" Jiro bowed his head and answered calmly, "Peace is not found in words or promises, my lord, but in the truth we are willing to face." Thus began his service at the court, where loyalty would be tested not only by the daimyo but by those who sought to manipulate the will of power for their own ends. In the following days, Jiro would learn that truth is not always welcome and that loyalty, like bamboo, sometimes has to bend to avoid breaking. One night, while meditating in the castle gardens, a servant approached silently and slid a scroll into his hands. "It is dangerous for them to see me speaking with you, monk," he whispered before disappearing into the shadows. Jiro unrolled the scroll and found a cryptic message. "The river becomes murky before it clears. Not everything is as it seems." The message unsettled him. Who had sent it? Were there hidden intrigues within the castle? The next morning, as he made his way to the daimyo's chambers, he felt that every glance around him was laden with suspicion. He knew that the search for truth would lead him to uncover secrets that some would rather keep buried. That very afternoon, the daimyo summoned Jiro to a private audience. In the dim light of his chamber, the elderly leader whispered, "Monk, There are shadows within these walls, and I do not know whom to trust. My illness is but a veil. There are forces working against me." Jiro nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. "The truth hides in silence as much as in noise, my lord. Allow me to observe and listen." The daimyo closed his eyes in weariness and murmured, "Find the root of the betrayal before it is too late." That night, as Jiro walked through the dim hallways, he heard a murmur behind a half-open door. He stopped, holding his breath. "We must act before the monk discovers too much," whispered an unknown voice. Jiro's loyalty was about to be tested. In the following days, Jiro observed closely the movements within the castle. He noticed small signs: servants avoiding his gaze, conversations that stopped when he passed by, and the unusual silence in the hallways at dusk. Suspicion was turning into certainty. Something dark was brewing in the shadows. One night, he decided to follow a group of samurai who were slipping through a side corridor. He kept his distance, moving with the stealth learned from years of meditation and listening on the mountain. The men stopped in an underground storeroom, where a man in black armor spoke in a low voice. "The daimyo won't last much longer. When he falls, we will take control before his son claims power. We must eliminate those who suspect. And the monk, he is the greatest risk." Jiro felt the coldness of the truth run through his skin. His presence in the court was not only a threat to the conspiracy, but his life was in danger as well. He knew he had to act with caution. Loyalty was not just to the daimyo, but to the truth and the balance of the kingdom. At dawn, Jiro went to the daimyo and shared what he had heard. The leader nodded gravely, but his eyes revealed a determination that still burned within him. "If my time is nearing its end, let it be in peace and not in betrayal. I trust you, Jiro. Find the truth and protect it." Jiro bowed his head, and for the first time since leaving the mountain, he felt the weight of a decision that would define his destiny. Loyalty guided him, but at what cost? Loyalty is like water. It does not belong to a single vessel. It takes the shape of that which contains it.